Thank you very much. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Mesdames et messieurs, soyez les bienvenus au Global Landscape Forum. Good afternoon, and I'm very pleased that we have a session on securing tenure rights for forest landscape restoration activities, titled Women as Agents of Change, Securing Land Rights as a Solution to Sustainable Forest Landscape Restoration, jointly with BMZ and inputs from Madagascar as well as Ethiopia. Questions that will be explored. We have one movie from Madagascar. We have two persons from Ethiopia presenting. We'll cover the complexities of securing land tenure rights for forest landscape restoration activities, as well as various interventions ranging from afforestation, natural regeneration, and especially the role of women and barriers to equal rights as well as tenure security for women in this context. This will be explored in the session this afternoon, which we are very pleased is jointly hosted with BMZ. We will briefly have a keynote input by Mrs. Marie Wiechmann, our technical focal point in BMZ. We are jointly hosting the session also with the cooperation with Forest for Future, hence the topic on forest landscape restoration. I'm also very pleased. We will have, after the keynote input, a 7-minute movie from Madagascar on the importance of tenure governance in the context for women by Mrs. Zalifa Ousseni from Madagascar, followed by a presentation on the importance of land rights and tenure to secure efficient forest landscape restoration in English by Mr. Gambura Ganta, as well as Mrs. Mekonnen, also from Ethiopia, examining Ethiopian women's land rights in the existing land tenure system. So without further ado, and we are very grateful to be hosted by the Global Landscape Forum, I would like to hand over the word to Mrs. Marie Wiechmann.
Thank you, Oliver. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for this opportunity to address you in this virtual space of the Global Landscapes Forum. As has been said, I'm a Senior Policy Advisor at the Federal Ministry for Economic Cooperation and Development, and I work in the Unit for Food and Nutrition Security, which gives a bit of context of how we in the BMZ see the issue of land rights. It is a great pleasure to start us off this afternoon, as I said, I would like to make a few points. In the view of the BMZ, intact and healthy landscapes are the foundation of sustainable development, quite literally the foundation, including arable lands, including rangelands and forests. The crucial question is who has the right to use these landscapes and these lands, under which conditions, for what purposes, and who is responsible to restore and conserve these areas. Responsible land governance is all about addressing these questions, and this is where the BMZ focuses their work. To give you one example of quite a few that we pursue, we have one important project called the African Forest Landscape Restoration Initiative, a long name, abbreviated by AFR 100. This initiative aims to restore 100 million hectares of forest landscapes, and it unites more than 30 countries all across Africa in this attempt. The transformational power of responsible land governance lies in ensuring equitable access to land for everyone. This is the basis of our engagement. It follows that responsible land governance needs to address existing structural inequalities. So it must actively and effectively include groups that are put at the margins and those people whose rights are not respected. For instance, women make up 43% of the agricultural labor force, and yet they make up less than 15% of landowners, as the rights to own or to use land can often only be claimed by male family members. So as part of the BMZ's strategy for feminist development policy, we focus on 3 R's: rights, resources, and representation. And we see a virtuous circle when women claim their right to land. Their access to resources improves, not just to the resource land, but also to natural resources, the possibility to exploit these, to use the land as property to better their income and to access financial services. We also see that women can engage more with decision-making of the community, and they gain stronger representation. So women truly are an agent of change for the development of rural areas when the 3 R's come together. I would just like to conclude these very brief remarks by saying that I'm much looking forward to hearing more from on-the-ground experiences, both from Madagascar and from Ethiopia. I'm very happy that our partners, Ms. Mekkonen from Landesa, Mr. Ganta, and Madame Mustini will address us in a moment, and I'm really eager to hear of their perspectives. I thank GLF for this important session, and thanks go to GIZ and Forest for Future as well for organizing this specific session. Many thanks, and back to you.
Thank you very much, Marie, for this kind keynote introductions. And we would like to process without further ado and proceed to the movie from Madagascar called L'importance de la gouvernance foncière et de l'engagement des femmes pour la gestion durable des paysages et des forêts. Le cas de la commune rurale de Sadoavato. The movie is in Malagasy with English and French subtitles.
Faly magnano mbalatsara antsika jiaby. Agnarako Oseny Zalifa Georgette, ben'ny tanànany commune rurale Sadiovato, district ny Antsiranana faharoa, région Diana. Ny koragna eto niany dia mikasika ny tantara manaka vatako manokana zegny mahazalifa za mahaviavy za. Nanomboka nidiran'ny projet allemand tamin'ny commune Sadiovato jusqu'à hatramin'izao. Ty velon-tegnany amin'ny Sadiovato zay taloha, tegna zay miaigna amin'ny fiainana tsy zarizary. Mamboly tsotra dia vao misy magnano forgeron. Nanomboka 1996 nidiran'ny Grimad nagnentigna ny fokon'olo amboly kakazo. Efa niditra zegny za tamin'ny fotoanan'izo ary zay tamin'izao zay 7, vehivavy 4, lehilahy 3. Iko fahitanao zay nalaky be nisosoko naro amindray olona amboly zay efa zatra koa na hena vita be ndraiky farany zegny tany lany. De efa lany tany nalaky be ny kakazo nivadiky vola velon-tegna. Misy association zay amin'io nagnano magasin charbon vert sady mahazo vola ny fikambanana, mahazo vola tena tompiny. Ka agnaty famboleko kakazo, nandafosako charbon, nandafosako perse jiaby zegny, navitako nampivoatra saignaka, nariko ny formation nazo tamin'ny projet ka nasahiako tandatsika sefoko tany za nanomboka 2010 jusqu'à 2019 za koa nitandatsika ben'ny tanàna. Taloha zegny le vehivavy zegny mbola tsy misokotra saigny, azony tokantragno, lehilahy fo misaotra raha amin'ny tsy fahaizana lalàgna mifehy ny fananan-tany. Nde hisaotra zofo mavozo, hidriky bureau mavozo. Nanomboka ny nagnanaovana reboisement io zegny tsy magneky boka le commune anao tsinamboly boka na soratagna izy na fivadiany eo. Taloha olo tsy mahafantatra hoe le olo mety molaly agnatin'ny 5 taona fa ninazy ny tany. Taloha ny fitoriagna ny olo miady tany na dossier folo traité-ny président conseil isaka misy tsy vita fekiny. Misy miady ro agnaty bureau ndraiky angalagna zandaro. Taloha zay na olo andeha angala topofo sahiragna izy, ideplasy, hidriky bureau, tsy mahazatra izy zatra mipetraka ambanivolo. Tonga tamin'ny commune ny projet POPFR tamin'ny 2022. Angataka fiara-miasa mikasiky fananganana guichet foncier. De vao fanaovana karatany faobe. Ny resiny commune ny projet tonga de fa nagnano fagnaragna fiarahamiasa, nandalo formation ny olona asa amin'ny guichet, ny ben'ny tanàna, ny conseiller président conseil, natao formation ny CRL, ny SLC, natao formation ny association ny vehivavy, association ny société civile, nanomboka amin'izay ny fandrefesana tany vaobe, nidina tamin'ny ifotony fa magnatony fotony ambodiny commune zegny ny guichet foncier, iofo zegny izy mikarakara fangatagna fandrefesana tany, tombontsoan'ny commune mampamoramora recensement le olo managna tany, ny vivitany fandrefesana tany, mba mampitombo ny fidiram-bola amin'ny commune amin'ny alalan'ny ETRA. Nampihegny ny malomalon'ny conseil zao fa tsisy malon'ny tany eky io. Tombotsoa azonareo koa, afaka izy magnano garantie mangala vola amin'ny banky. Mampitombosa an'le fiaignanany azo angala vola izy asa agnamboatra tragno tsara amin'ny taninany. Navian'ny propefera zay, nahitagna fandrefesan-tany 2,300 hektara. Zegny ahitagna 1,270 karatany. 400 hektara misotra amin'ny vehivavy. Ary atsika mivolagna zao fa maro fokotany mitady guichet andrefitany fa mbola agnaboaka le karatany vita manohy amin'ny fokotany sasany. Misy Adiovato, misy Tialavelo, Agnalalava, tantagnany VOI. Zay namieny DRED, famindram-pitantagnana, io zay nanomboka nagnambolena kakazo, tsisy nandrobaka eky zegny jusqu'à tsika mivolagna zio. Fa ny fagnampiagna, ny atiala zegny fagnatevegnan'izy, io zegny raha atao, ny fagnampiagna avy tamin'ny forefo, magnampy zay fokon'olo amin'ny fagnaregnana io atiala io. Fa ny propefera zegny agnampy zay koa amin'ny fandrefesana io tany io mba tsy hampisalasala olo, mba tsy hidiran'olo fa ato mariny limitiny tany ny réserve ny Agnalalava. Marisky zegny fokon'olo amboly raha agnaty ao agnaremagna ny atiala satria matsapa izy fa ny fokon'olo jiaby trankanavaka zegny io atiala io. Tegna maresy lahatra za ary magnentana olo zay mbola tsy tetry, indrindrandrindra ny vehivavy karaha za mamboly kakazo fa malaky be ary azahoagna vola be. 50 hektara naka, za tsy nikarama, tsy nampiasa vola, nampiasa angovo. Misaotra ny fiarahamiasa amin'ny fanjakana malagasy sy ny opération allemande amin'ny fiarahamiasa jiaby natao taminay amin'ny lafiny fampandrosoana commune. Mbola resy lahatra zay hitohizan'ny fiarahamiasa ary mbola vonona zegny zay anohy le mbola tsy natao. Zay sy zay ny avy aty aminakà ka misaotra antsika jiaby nitandregny.
So without further ado, I would like to move on to presentations from Ethiopia to Mr. Gambura Ganta on the importance of land rights and tenure to secure efficient forest landscape restoration, which will be the first part of the presentation, and then examining Ethiopian women's land rights in the existing land tenure system by Mrs. Mekonnen.
My name is Gambura Ganta from Forestry Department from Gamo Zone and a partner for GIZ Forever projects. The issue I'm presenting here is the land tenure security issue for successful FLR. Then the next presentation is from Mrs. Workoa with regard to women and rights in land tenure security. So directly going to my slides, as we know, Ethiopia has various agroecological zones. The topic I am presenting is land tenure security issue for successful FLR. So the legal framework in Ethiopia has federal and regional land administration and certification policies. With regard to communal land administration, the proclamation number 456 2005 issued that communal land is a land regarding actual implementation of the policies. It is basically prioritizing to private land use rights and state large scale state farms, but with regard to communal lands, there is a challenges. Among the challenges, land registration and certification for communal land is not clearly stated in regional proclamations. The next one is illegal encroachments towards communal land is severe here in Ethiopia. Communal land registration and this implementation is approached without effective experiences at large. Women gender issue is another problems in Ethiopia. So weak land certification by Kabale Land Administration Committee is also here. So to avoid these challenges, GIZ Forest for Future program is working in collaboration with the Nexus Forest projects to clearly solve the land tenure security issues, because without land tenure security issue, it is difficult to manage all forestry programs on communal lands, as Forest for Future project is working on forest for on communal lands at largely. Hence, Nexus projects are working on identifying potential communal lands on the project sites, identifying potential beneficiaries, working to cooperative societies in the project sites. Hence, Forest for Future program is working to ensure land tenure in project areas. Government partner is also ready to scale up the forest land tenure security systems. The zonal level. Thank you very much. This is what I have.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Ganta. Was that your last slide? Seems like. Then Mrs. Mekkonen could take over and continue, please.
Thank you very much. My name is Orko Mekkonen. I am making this presentation on behalf of the partnership between GIZ, the Ethiopian Women Land Rights Task Force, and the Stand for Her Land campaign. The Stand for Her Land campaign is a global campaign project led by Landesa, and in Africa, Ethiopia, Senegal, and Uganda are part of this project, and it is funded by the African countries are funded by BMZ. So why is women land rights an issue? Because it's about dignity. Women's equal right to land are human rights. And it's about equity. Women and girls bear the brunt of poverty. They shoulder time-consuming household duties. They live with deep discrimination and restricted rights, so they deserve equal share, a fair share from productive resources, notably from land. It's also about sustainability, because women's access to land increases investment in land, spending on food and education, and it also improves child nutrition. So if that is the case, what is the Ethiopian legislation says? Rights to ownership of land vested in Ethiopia vested in the state and the public. And the Ethiopian constitution, the federal and regional rural land laws explicitly grants equal right for women to acquire, inherit, administer, and transfer land. The federal and regional laws also mandate joint certification and use right of spouses. However, women's rights to land are influenced by customs, norms, and particularly due to weak law enforcement. Next slide, please. The major challenges include customary rules denying women and girls inheritance and transfer of exclusive access to land. Ownership of land and valuable resources is largely governed by patriarchal rules. Tenure change negatively impacting the improved women land rights system in Ethiopia. Women often only have access rights to produce from the land. And when they have access to land, their decision-making role is so limited, their benefits disfranchised due to power play, and there is critically the enforcement of law and accountability is a serious challenge. Next slide. Yeah, because of these challenges, women oftentimes, women and girls face dual loss, particularly because of due to marriage, because their family of origin looks at them as fair, because if they take the land, it means it's transferring to another family or another clan. On the other hand, their marital family, on the other hand, perceives them as an outsider and thus could not be interested with land rights. Because of this, women puts women in a disadvantaged position, particularly when there is a death of husband, divorce, or separation. This is particularly critical for women in polygamous marriage because there is a complex and timeless claim on a limited piece of land. Next slide, please. So what should we do with all of these challenges? And the first thing that we have to do is we have to address the customs and norms that has affected women seriously. And that emanates from low recognition of women's contribution. So the first thing we have to do is we have to recognize women's contribution to the household, both their productive and reproductive role. Once we recognize that, it is easy to to give their fair share and to have access and control over land. We have to also ensure their leadership in land governance at all stages. And we have to also make sure women land rights is at the center of land policy and practice. We have to also establish accountability mechanisms and ensure enforcement of the existing laws. And there is also a lack of, we have to strengthen land institutions with sufficient budget and staff, which is not the case currently. And we have to also commit ourselves, especially donor partners. They have to finance institutions and projects working on women land rights. As part of this initiative, we have established Women Land Rights Task Force in February 2015. This task force is composed of government institutions, land projects, and programs, international organizations. The aim of this task force is to inform formulation and implementation of gender-responsive land policy and legislation in Ethiopia. It also advocates enforcement of available laws. And it's also committed to generate evidence for advocacy and lobby to influence policy and practice in the land sector. Next slide. In effecting this, the Women Land Rights Task Force has entered into partnership with the GIZ and the Stand for Her Land campaign this June 2023. The objective of this partnership is to increase awareness, enhancing capacities of women, community CSOs, and grassroots movements. It's also to engage policymakers for lobbying and advocacy, to enact laws, and also to enforce existing laws. It is also to foster partnership and networking, and to promote collaboration, learning, and collective action. And as partners, these three partners are committed to align available resources through coordination and to include relevant stakeholders in planning and policy-making process and align planned activities and plan future steps together. Thank you very much.
So all speakers, as a reminder, please put your cameras on so that the audience can see who you are. Les présentateurs et présentatrices, pouvez-vous allumer vos caméras, comme ça le public peut vous voir. It looks like the presentations were so good that people still have to think about further questions. On a l'impression que les présentations étaient si bonnes que le public réfléchit encore pour poser des questions. Ah, I see a question now.
Hello.
In the chat.
Oh.
Or would you go ahead, please? You have the microphone. Go ahead then.
Okay, hello. Thank you for your presentations. I was wondering if you had some information you could share about the kind of impact your work is having so far in Ethiopia?
I'm not sure what is referring to, but if you refer to the women land rights, it's very we have a very impressive result that we have almost 91%. Just as an example, from 50 million parcels registered, on 90% of them have women's name on the certificate. I didn't mean that they have we have achieved everything, because the control issue is still a challenge, but having their name on the certificate is a huge step forward. So this is just from 50 million parcels as an example. Nationally, the data may be different, but from UK funded project named LEAF of 2019 data, almost 72% are joint certificates, and 90% are female only, and about 9% are men only. So this has huge step. This gives us a huge encouragement in terms of securing women land rights. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I saw a question in the chat on women are the main workforce in the agricultural and forestry sector in many sub-Saharan countries. What about sensibilization campaign or raising awareness? Are actions like these taking place?
Yes, again, there are, especially in the Stand for Her Land campaign, there are, it's basically implemented through National Coalition of National CSOs. As this member, members, there are CSOs working on climate change, adaptation, environment. So a lot of sensitization is going on, and also grassroots movements are being, are being supported to sensitize the role of women on environment and mitigating the climate change and adaptation.
Thank you very much. Mr. Ganta, would you like to add something before we give an opportunity to Madagascar to contribute? Seems not.
Thank you. Thank you very much. On my side,
and please switch on your
the issue of
your screen so we can see your face, please.
For women is at greater success, but the way how to control it is still remains as a challenge. So we are also working on it here, and in our communal land tenure security issue among the participants of forestry development cooperatives, 50% of them are becoming women right now in our localities.
Okay, thank you very much. Le Madagascar, est-ce que vous voulez ajouter par rapport à la question des campagnes de sensibilisation?
Pour la part de Madagascar, concernant la question de la campagne de sensibilisation, après concertation avec Madame Zalifa, les femmes ont été beaucoup plus actives lors des sensibilisations et ont participé beaucoup aux campagnes de sensibilisation et il y a eu quand même des sensibilisations ciblées sur les groupes féminines ayant participé à la restauration des paysages et des forêts.
Merci bien. Then I see a question in the chat on women collect seed, firewood, plant crops, do household jobs, and so on. Their contribution is so underrated and marginalized. Does not look like a question to me, more like a statement. I mean, the statement is correct. This is also the main focus of the various programs, but I don't see a specific question behind it. Maybe the person who wrote the question can formulate it into a question. Okay, then there's another question this time to Mrs. Maria Wichmann. How does BMZ ensure that FLR and land rights are thought together when setting up new projects?
So, thank you for the question. FLR, I suppose, are forest landscape restoration. When BMZ engages... Okay, I just wanted to agree with my colleague that campaigns for sensibilization are indeed a good tool, and we're working with Landesa not only in Ethiopia, but also in Senegal and Uganda to push this ahead, and working with GIZ to improve capacities of civil society. So maybe just as a highlight that we very much do have this concern, and we also work with the International Land Coalition that has a lot of grassroots members to also increase their profile and help them address this issue.
Thank you very much. I was just told that we can take one more question if we exceed the time on women have a strong relationship with wood fuel, firewood and charcoal. Are there any actions towards formalizing, improving the wood fuel sector? I'm not sure to whom this question is addressed, probably to both countries. And I do know that BMZ also supports wood fuel projects for many years already.
Yes, I think we cover this under using access to resources, so not only having the right to land, but also the right to use the available resources that would cover wood fuel.
That's right, and I remember myself when I was in Benin, there was a project on improved stoves, Le Foyer Amélioré, so that's also been an initiative which has been there for a long time. Okay, one more question. Mrs. Mekonnen, can you say something about the wood fuel situation and firewood charcoal?
No, I mean, generally we are working on the overall women land rights. We are not particularly working on particularly on such projects. So I would be happy if the two country projects can respond on this.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. So this is definitely taken into consideration. All right. Looking at the time, and I think the Secretariat is relatively strict, I would like to thank all the contributors and the speakers today and for this exchange, which despite some technical hitches did work, and thank you very much for the presentation as well as the movie. Merci beaucoup à toutes les contributions, les contributeurs et les contributrices pour la session d'aujourd'hui, pour partager des expériences de l'Éthiopie et du Madagascar. It was good to also have inputs from the two countries, and thank you very much to Marie Wichmann from BMZ for your keynote speech as well as your contribution and participation. And I think this is a dialogue to be continued. C'est un dialogue qui va être continué dans le futur. Merci beaucoup à toutes et à tous. Et au revoir and goodbye. Thank you to everybody. Marie,
Merci.
Would you like to add a word?
Sorry?
Would you like to add a word? Or everything?
Just thank you from my side too, and looking forward to future cooperation.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. All the best. Good continuation in the GLF. Et bonne continuation pour le GLF. And in the countries. Thank you. Au revoir. Goodbye.